Today, let's learn about the new STIHL MS 182 chainsaw. Guys, Josh with Carl's Mower and Saw here, and we're going to go over today a brand new chainsaw that STIHL is just introducing to replace its long-term MS 180 chainsaw. The MS 180 originally came out as the 018, and that was in 2002, if I have my dates right, if I go back in my head. So 21 plus years ago, they introduced the MS 180, and it's been a fantastic saw, but there's always room for improvements. STIHL has been looking for years at opportunities, and finally I believe they've hit the nail on the head based on the specs, based on what I've seen on the MS 162, its little brother. Let's open up the STIHL MS 180 today. This is a small saw, guys. This is not a firewood cutting chainsaw. This is not something that we're gonna go out and drop 20-inch trees with. It's an occasional use saw, but it's got a lot of good features, and it's going to be a reliable saw that should treat you right for years to come. So let's open it up. The STIHL MS 182. We have here a 2.1 horsepower, generally going to run a 16-inch bar and chain out of the box, although you could go down to a 14 or 12 if you so like. So we got some tools. That's good. We always need those. We have our scabbard. We have our owner's manual. This will be an important thing to read if you recently picked up a chainsaw. It's always a good idea to go through this. I know you get it, right? You know most of how to operate a saw, but I try to read every manual of every tool that we take in, just so that I got an idea of what's changed, what's new, what do I need to understand. Now, remembering all that information is a challenge, as you can imagine. We've got our chain. We're going to be running the 63 PM355. This is a 43 gauge, 3/8 Pico chain, and it's a 55 driver. STIHL has two options in this chain size. We have the PS and the PM. Pull out it. I'm supposed to pull out the bar first. Oh well. Here we go. Pull out the bar. We've got the light 04 16-inch, again matching the chain, and the brand new STIHL MS 182 chainsaw. If you're used to the look of the STIHL saws and think about the STIHL MS 170 or 180, this thing looks totally different. I mean, it's got a sloped back end. The MS 180 does not have the toolless fuel caps. It looks totally different. Well, let me get this box out of the way and let's take a peek at some of the things that set it apart. So here we go. Here's what's different from just an outside perspective as we work around the saw. So let's start with the front. Obviously, kind of the exhaust is going to look a little bit different. Coming around to the starter side, you'll see that we have the quick flip fuel cap, fuel and oil. So I flip that black, turn it a quarter, half turn, open up, have that both on the bar oil and the fuel. Some people are going to rejoice, woo! And other people are going to go, I hate those caps. Let me tell you, these caps generally work really good once you just understand there's one spot to drop it in, and they work. Okay. The starter, I don't know. I haven't pulled the rope on this one yet, but on the MS 162, it seemed as though pulling this rope was an easier pull. So I'm going to have to fire it up. We'll do that on the next video, kind of a first start, but we'll see how that starts. Compared to the MS 170, it seems to pull a little bit easier. Coming around to the back, we have our master control lever that STIHL is famous for. It's kind of a thing that they always run, but there is a change that when I shut it off, it's return to run. So when I push it up to kill it, it's going to drop down into start or run again. So that's a change. That's a good change. And then on the side here, we're going to a single bar nut versus a double. We've got a restylized sprocket cover, still the side access chain tensioner. And on the bottom, we're going to see, this is where we're going to see probably the most change for those that have operated the other saws for years, is in this AV, this buffer system, anti-vibe system. Instead of having rubber buffers, we've gone to the spring setup. This is what all of the larger STIHL saws have ran now for years, and it reduces the vibration 15 to 20%, potentially even more. So just in running this, you're going to feel a lot less vibration in your hands. Going to lead to less fatigue and more comfort. The fuel efficiency on this is going to be more fuel efficient. It's reduced emissions over the old generation. It's quite a drop, roughly 30%. So it's a cleaner burning chainsaw. They've also increased the fuel capacity. We've gone up about 50% in both our fuel and bar oil capacity. So our runtime should be longer if you're looking for that. All right, let's take off the top cover. And this has been a running change for years. In the past, STIHL always just had a quick flip to get to the air filter. It worked, it was nice. Easy, quick and easy to get to air filter. But sometimes that filtration system was just a little suspect. It worked, but we can improve that. So this is now 3 screws. I'm gonna set it down, I'm gonna have a lot easier time. So take these 3 screws loose, and it's going to be able to be done with either the standard T27 Torx that you probably have sitting around with your brush cutter, or the flathead here of the bar wrench. So we have cover, couple more turns. Okay, cover off. Let's get a look at the top end of this engine. Once we open up the compartment, we have a big change on the air filter. This is big. This is a much improved air filter. In fact, we looked at the MS-162 the other day. This is a significantly better air filter than that. So we have the good flocked air filter, been used for years. It seals good, right? It latches in place, and it's kind of a soft rubber around. So we're going to keep the air from getting sucked into the intake and going through the engine. We don't like that. We have more cooling fins I see here. So it should be a cooler running chainsaw, and heat is a killer, right? So we have a cooler running. We have a better air filtration. You can see up on the top here, this anti-vibration spring. So reduced vibration. It looks like this little orange, I'm guessing, is a data port plug-in. So us at the dealership, we can now plug this into the computer and we can tell you some stuff about it. When you come in and say, man, this thing always starts hard, what's going on? And we can look at it and say, this thing has 8 hours and you've started 183 times. Why? What's going, so we can learn together and get better. So that is a useful thing. A lot of people are like, I don't care. Yeah, it can help us in the shop to determine what's going on. Let's take off the sprocket cover. I like this stylized new sprocket cover that's a little more open. It's really, whoops, we know it's not a captive bar nut. This new sprocket cover is really modeled off of the Pro Saw. So if you've looked at an MS-362 and MS-261, you'll see something very similar there. This is going to look a lot like the normal, right? Here's our sprocket. Now we've reduced to 1 bar nut. So here's our threaded bar stud, and then we have a solid stud right here that keeps the bar centered. They've used that for years on other models. It works. Some people are like, I want 2 bar nuts. I think on a smaller bar, a 16-inch bar like this that's running a 2.1 horse, it's fine. You're just kind of screwed if you lose one. So, all right, there we go. The brand new STIHL MS-182. Stop back soon and let's fire this up together. Let's see how it runs, how it feels, and maybe set them side by side versus a STIHL MS-180. So 2.1 horse, just over 10 pounds, reduced vibration, increased fuel efficiency. I think we're going to enjoy the operator comfort and enjoy the experience of running this brand new STIHL MS-182 chainsaw.